Hi, welcome to AllBrands After Hours with me, your host, Courtney Douthat. Welcome to the show where we hang out and craft together. Today, however, we actually have a guest. I think you're the first guest I've ever had on the show before.
Well, awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Maybe we should tell them who you are. This is Steven Thompson. This is our tech. He is our fabulous tech. Literally, guys, some stores have one tech per store. He is so amazing that we make him do multiple stores. So I'm so excited to have him on.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
I walked into his office and I was like, hey, guess what you're doing today? We're gonna come on the show. So, Steven, just so they know a little information about you, how long have you been to tech?
I've been with AllBrands starting in Texas for seven and a half years now.
Jeez, please.
Been here with y'all in Baton Rouge for going on 3, I believe.
Really? Oh my God, time flies.
It always does.
Oh my goodness. So, okay, just for some funsies, what is your favorite machine? Out of every machine there is.
I like the PR embroidery machines.
Yeah. Guys always love their PR
I like to
machines.
stand up. I wear hats so they can stitch on hats. So
I don't think I've ever seen you without a hat before.
It's because I don't wear one. Only when I go to bed.
Hey guys, when we get to 15,000, maybe we can get him to not wear his hat. Wait, do you say you wear it to bed or not when
I said not when I
Oh my God, I just pictured you just being like, all right, good night, I just got the trucker hat on. So I really wanted to bring Steven on because I always see a lot of questions about maintenance of your machine, different things, and I sometimes do things on the show and not on the show that probably shouldn't be done on the machines, and bless Steven's heart, he sees my machines. I don't think I've brought one in a little bit.
No.
But it's fun to hear the stories of the different designs that you see in the machines because customers like to embroider some interesting things.
Oh, absolutely.
That's so cool. So, okay, so let's start with the scan and cut because I am scan and cut queen. So maintenance for your scan and cut.
There's not a lot you can really do, right? Obviously blade maintenance, stuff like that, to keep the machine operating properly. Just like any machines, just keep them clean if possible. If you're not used for a while, back in the box, keep a cover. Scan and cuts and sewing machines, embroidery machines, spray adhesive, not right next to the machine is ideal. That causes issues. And probably the biggest thing I see with scan and cuts is random loose pieces of felt, vinyl, stuff like that that gets on your scanning screen. So removing your access cover and cleaning that off periodically, that way you got good scans is important.
Because I remember one time I scanned in a design and it had a big streak down the center of it. And I was like, what is this? And I looked and there was a little, like smallest piece of vinyl just stuck in there. And all I did was just take it. I mean, it was close enough where I could reach it. But I usually tell them not to take off like a ton of covers and stuff, mostly because I forget how to put stuff back on.
Well, the scan and cuts, all of them have the cover that removes with no hardware, screws, anything like that being removed to access that piece of glass. So brother knows that you're going to lose a piece of vinyl, felt, something like that periodically and need to clean it out of there. So yeah, it's nothing that can be harmful, no tools needed. So it is definitely, part of you'll come across it if you use a scan and cut a lot. It'll happen to you eventually. And
we had talked earlier before this that for Print Moda, there's really not maintenance that you really need to do to Print Moda. She's kind of, on her own. She's a printer.
Yeah.
And printers make me nervous, but Print Moda is great. So, okay, so let's jump to a sewing or embroidery machine. What are the maintenance things that we should be doing once a week?
Depends on the style machine, obviously. Let's say we're sticking with a Brother, Baby Lock, Janome, anything that's a top bobbin loading. Those don't really require most brands the user to oil. It is required, but that'll be more on your yearly service. Keeping them clean is important. Lint, stray threads, stuff like that. So removing the bobbin case and the needle plate is good to do, I'd say, depending on the amount you use the machine. I'd say weekly, once a month, something like that. Don't really recommend any type of compressed air. All you'll do is take that lint and move it deeper into the machine. There are a lot of really great accessories to attach to vacuums that have really small tips and stuff to get down in there.
And guys, I'll link this below what he's talking about because it's cool.
Yeah, those are great. and any soft brush, makeup brushes, paint brushes, stuff like that will help remove the lint out of the machine. Much deeper than that, you shouldn't need any tools to start removing stuff to clean it. If you do, you know, that's where it gets tricky because every machine's different. So normal maintenance shouldn't require any disassembly that requires tools. If you have access to your upper tension assembly, that's something that's super important to keep clean, right? Because that's what, you know, dictates the proper tension on the machine. So keeping that clean is important. You'll see a lot of groups talk about if it isn't easily accessible, running unwaxed dental floss through the machine.
What?
Just to try to use that to knock any loose threads or anything like that out.
That's cool.
A great way to prevent that from getting dirty is obviously a covered machine. That way it's not getting a bunch of lint and stuff built up on it, and then it gets sucked into the machine with a thread. Also, when we change colors, super important for embroidery because we do that very regularly. Cut at the spool, pull out of the needle. Let's not pull back into the machine because our lint is normally created at the needle. So if we have lint built up there and we pull the thread through the machine, all we're doing is bringing that into the machine and adding to the buildup. So preventing it going back into the machine will save you a lot of time and frustration.
If I accidentally do it once in a blue moon, it's not the end of the world, but if I'm consistently doing it a time.
Exactly. And if for some reason you do have to pull back, if you feel any resistance, don't pull. There is small springs that the thread is running against that can be damaged. Thread does break during sewing or embroidery and we can't access the thread at the needle. One thing you can do is if you start at the spool, instead of having to pull the thread back through, you can kind of back trace and unthread it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Go exactly backwards as if you were threading the machine, and that will prevent it from getting stuck on the springs inside. Because sometimes if it breaks on you during embroidery, everybody's seen it, the thread gets frayed and stuff at the end. It's a lot easier for it to get hung up on items, and that's what we want to prevent. That will cause damage, and then you will have to get assistance to fix or replace parts at that point.
Okay, so just to be silly, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen come in for service?
The craziest thing? I don't really know. I think everybody would be surprised at the volume of lint that can be in a machine or the amount of thread. A common issue is for us who sew with the thread stand, we keep our extra spools on there, and then the loose end gets on the handle wheel of the machine and the entire spool gets sucked into the machine.
Wait, what?
I've seen on the bobbin winders, you know, the thread gets loose and then the bobbin winder kind of wraps all the thread up on the inside.
Just a giant ball.
So yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you can find a very large amount of thread in the machine. Probably the most interesting is embroidery modules. A lot of times we pin when we're floating a towel or something on our stabilizer. Those pins get knocked off a lot, so it's pretty regularly for me to pull out a handful of pins from the embroidery module.
Like inside the actual embroidery module?
Yeah, you know how they have the little slot on the top where the module slides back and forth? Somehow the pins
They just fall in there?
they find their way into the module somehow.
Now I'm going to pick up my module
Even
and
the
shake
little decorative ones with the big hearts and stars and stuff like that on the back of them, I've numerous times have pulled a half dozen or more out of modules. So.
And we're laughing about this, but I feel like, especially having a tack on, it's going to take that stigma away from it, that maybe it's been years and you haven't brought your machine in for regular maintenance. Like, don't be scared to bring it in. Like it's funny. Everyone does it. I feel like it's a rite of passage that you open your machine and it's just a ton of lint comes out and stuff like that. Like, he's seen the worst of the worst. I don't think.
And that means you're using it, right?
That's a great point.
Yeah, I would rather see a machine used than a 5-year-old machine that comes in and it's still spotless and looks like it came out of the box. Right? It's a hobby.
Yeah, it
works. Enjoy them and have fun.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I love that. So I know with my machine, God bless their hearts. I'm constantly using them and doing different things on it and trying different techniques on it, but I do try to keep it clean. So Stephen will actually be at Houston Quilt Festival with us. Yay. We love festival, and I'll be there as well in Scannicut, and Steven will be over there with the Amazing Brother machines. And I think it's amazing. So he literally can answer any questions you have because he's a tech. He's taken it apart. He knows every little aspect of it. So definitely, if you haven't planned your Houston Quilt Festival trip, go ahead and plan it. Come hang out with us. Have some fun. We're going to be in the AllBrands Village, and we call it the AllBrands Village because it takes a village to do all this fun stuff. And this is our doctor of our village. He's the one that has to deal with all of our shenanigans, so it's really great. Okay, so is maintenance different on any other style of machines, or is it kind of universal?
Yes and no, for sure. A lot of it is going to be very similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
General care, keeping them clean, stuff like that is the golden rule for anything.
Right.
We kind of mentioned the horizontal hook, the top loading bobbins, and I mentioned the manufacturers on most of those don't recommend the customer to oil them. But what if you have a vertical type hook machine like a Brother PR embroidery machine, or their great little PQ 1500, straight stitch, quilting machines. Those style of hooks, think Bernina, stuff like that, those do require the hook to be oiled on a regular basis.
Oh, okay.
So I normally will say every, let's say, 4 to 5 bobbins of thread.
Okay.
With the exception of maybe you're not as avid of a sewer and you did a couple of quick repair jobs, a quick project, and you only used 1 or 2 bobbins of thread, and then you put it away for a month. Every time you bring the machine back out, after it's sat for a while, we're going to want to put a fresh drop of oil on the hook for sure. And if you are the hobbyist that's sewing every day, that's when it works great. Just if you use pre-wounds or something like that with, like, say, the PR machines, I've always kind of instructed pull, 5 pre-wound bobbins, set them on the stand to your machine. When you got to go to your case to get more pre-wound bobbins, that's a great indicator to also go ahead and grab your oil the machine as well.
Okay, I see. I like that system better because that's something that I can remember. Because a lot of people always ask me, like, Courtney, when should I come bring it in for maintenance? And it's like, well, I don't know what you're doing at home.
Yeah.
And maybe you're using it every single day and you have a business that you're doing. Okay, well, you're going to bring it in for maintenance. But if you're once in a blue moon, well, then I'm not going to tell you to bring it in a ton. I mean, I don't believe in that. It's what you use it for is how often you should bring it in. This is something that people are usually scared about. I know that I used to get really nervous about using my serger because I don't like the idea of it cutting it off and I can't somehow put it back on. So I used to shy away from it. But I'm starting to dabble it in. For serger users, what are your tips and tricks?
Cleaning, and more cleaning for sure.
Oh, because we all love that. Come on.
The serger, great tool, but most of the time we're using knits, stuff like that are extra linty.
Knits are more linty. I didn't realize that.
Every fabric, and of course the quality of fabric, depending on where you're buying the fabric, plays a big role.
I heard AllBrands fabric's great. No, I'm just kidding.
Keeping the looper area clean is important, and both of the upper and lower loopers do need to be oiled on a regular basis as well.
Okay.
So a lot of problems with those machines will be lack of oil in that area, so they start getting hard to rotate and the machine seizes up. Honestly, sometimes it can be the opposite. I've seen customers that over oil. When I say oil, it's normally get you a dispenser that's made for sewing machines, and it's normally a drop of oil. Doesn't need a whole lot. If you put too much, oversaturate it, then it just attracts the lint. And it kind of does the opposite, absolutely. So I've seen that before on sergers. We're on especially the upper looper. It rides up and over the needle plate, and if we put too much oil on it, lint really gets attracted to it, and that kind of gets built up and causes issues as well. So it's a fine balance of keeping it clean versus oiled on serger and cover stitch machines.
Which I feel like a lot of machines they're not super finicky. So if I forget one time,
absolutely,
or maybe a couple of months, not saying I have, I'm also saying don't look at my machines.
Most machines you can tell aren't maintained the way a manufacturer or your textbook would tell you.
Right.
The machines still work and sew great. If we let it go too long, obviously we induce more wear. So the machine is going to require more parts replacements, or show its age quicker just from the lack of maintenance. It's not going to happen overnight though. It takes time. If you get caught up in holiday gifts and stuff like that,
Right.
and you don't get to it until after the new year, it's not like it's going to make or break and damage the machine. They are pretty forgiving. They've been around for quite a few years now, thousands and thousands of users, using them on a daily basis with no major issues.
The oldest or one of the oldest machines you've ever seen, like on your workbench?
No exact dates, but I've had a handful of probably some of the early 1900s treadle machines.
What?
Not tons, but there's still quite a few of the older machines that are passed down through the family.
Wow.
And people want to get them serviced just to kind of
make sure they
keep
stay
it going,
nice.
to be able to pass it down to the next generation as well.
That's amazing. So guys, definitely leave any questions that you have for Stephen down below. That way we can force him to come back on.
Yeah, sure.
I know. Well, because again, I don't ever do guests on the show. It's usually just me having some shenanigans and crafting and goodness knows what. So I'm so excited about to get you on.
It's a good time of year for it. It's about time for, Houston, all the new machines, this or that.
Yes.
So there'll be plenty of new owners, new questions, stuff like that.
That's true.
So.
I didn't think about it because I think everyone forgets we all start from square one. So we have to learn all these things, and someone might not even know that you're supposed to oil a machine, or you might forget to do it and just need that helpful reminder. So again, leave your questions down below. We'll be happy to answer them, and by we I mean him, because I have no idea with that. I think I put my machine through things that I probably shouldn't put my machine through.
Sometimes you got to test them.
But if your brother, you didn't see this, and it doesn't void my warranty. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, Stephen, again for hanging out with us and coming on the show. So excited we got him on. One day we're going to make him take his hat off. All right, guys, y'all have a good night. Bye.
Thank you.